Welcome back to Relay Radio here on Rural Radio Channel 147 Sirius XM. It is Thursday. It is the Farmer Rapid Fire. And of course, that means that we get to touch base with one of Corteva's agronomists. I've got Allison Rasmussen on the line, based out of Manitoba. Allison, how are you?
I'm doing great, Lindsay. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Now, we heard from our farmers, certainly in the prairie provinces, some really cool, maybe cool and wet conditions to start the year, and maybe some delayed seeding. And that's got me thinking about what can we do to help get this crop off to the right start.
Yeah, so no, great points, Lindsay. It's been Mother Nature's been a little owly this spring. Forecasts are all over the place. We don't really know what to predict. It looks like maybe some warm temperatures coming across the west, but reality is we have some cool soil temperatures. We still have some frost in the ground. So when we're looking at cereals and success from that point in time, we're looking at putting them into the ground, potentially them sitting there for a little while, till they germinate. With all that, that's an increased risk of disease, right? So we want to make sure we put a huge investment into the crop. We look at fertilizer prices are up, fuel prices are really kind of through the roof, time, seed. So really to set up for success, looking at putting a fungicide seed treatment onto our cereal crops. We want to make sure that we're protecting all those other investments that we're putting in. And we do know, we get protection against all of those soil-borne or seed-borne pathogens when we put a fungicide seed treatment. In areas where there's insect pressure, so whether that be cutworms or grasshoppers, we do have the option to put a product like Lumavia as well for that insect control. But that fungicide seed treatment is going to be key. Key investment. We want uniform emergence. We know our season's going to be, maybe a little condensed. There's areas across the west where there's still snow in the fields. So that uniform emergence makes it easier for us to manage that crop throughout the entire season as well.
Now, this is something now we're talking cereal protection here, which I think is really key. Is there still a window if, let's say, I'm a farmer and I haven't got a seed treatment lined up, do I still have time to get it done?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? If I look across the West, everyone's just kind of starting or full into treatment. So lots of opportunity at retail. We have a lot of custom seed treaters out there. Lots of products available from Corteva. We have Straxen, Lumicen, Lux that we just launched this year. So it's go out there, pick the product that works for you, get it put on. It is a small investment for probably some of the best insurance. Like I said, just protecting all those other investments that you're already making in that crop. We don't want areas where we lose a crop to disease. That fertilizer is costly. The weeds are going to come in and take over that area, right? So we want a nice, healthy, uniform stand. But yeah, definitely still time. It's easy to treat. You can treat it and head to the field in the same day. So lots of time for that.
Now, you did mention a couple of the options that farmers may have in trying to sit down and figure out, what is the best fit for crop type or soil conditions and disease spectrum, of course. How do you recommend farmers sort of sit down and figure out which product is really going to work best?
Yeah, I can speak to our Corteva products, right? Straxen is a great three actives. So we call it a three-way treatment. Lumicen Lux is really if you're shooting for the stars and you want those high yields. We've got four actives in that. I would say, most importantly, first and foremost, get a seed treatment on just to give that crop the best opportunity and the best start out of the ground. I would say if you're looking at an insecticide, Lindsay, that becomes a little more particular to the areas, understanding the pest pressure that's going to be there. If we're looking at cutworms, Lumavia CPL is by far, in my opinion, the best product on the market for cutworms. Also gets early season grasshopper control, wireworm. So I think it's understanding the pressures, knowing your history of the field and the area. Because the unfortunate part is if you have something like a wireworm and you don't put a treatment on, there's nothing we're going to be able to do from an over-the-top treatment.
That's right.
So again, it's that protection, right, that we're looking for to have just the best success. Really, at the end of the day, it's a small investment that protects a much bigger one. And if we can't get that great start, it's harder to have a good finish. So,
Yep, for sure. Wireworm, exactly. That's one of those key ones that there's really not a lot you can do if you end up finding a problem after the fact. And even
yeah,
cutworm, as you said, some great cutworm control because they are sneaky and they go back down and they hide.
they,
And yeah, it is very difficult to take care of them once you've got a problem. So there you go.
yeah,
So yeah, so absolutely if we're off to maybe a slow start, cold wet soil or even just cold dry soil, but a cool
yeah.
start can definitely mean those seeds sit a little longer, and the longer they're there, the more susceptible they may be to some of these diseases or pests. Great point about, we put all this time and effort and investment in fuel and in fertilizer. I want to keep that crop safe from all those other nasty things out there. Okay, Allison, thank you so much for joining me here on the Farmer Rapid Fire. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. You take care. Have a great week, Lindsay.
Thanks, you too. Okay,
Okay.
and thank you all for joining me here on the Farmer Rapid Fire. Just an absolute great lineup of farmers, so thanks to them as well. And I'll be back to host tomorrow's show. The issues panel goes 4:30 Eastern right here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. Cheers, everybody.